What's going on YouTube? This is Ribo back at the fake bench, and today I have another cut or carry knife review. This one that I'm really excited about. This time we're going to be taking a look at the Reeve Knives Nyala. Now this is in some ways a grail for me. I mean, it hasn't been like years of me wanting this knife, but since I saw this, I really wanted a Nyala. I'm not much of a fixed blade guy. That's starting to change slowly. Not for any practical reason, just because I'm getting interested in different knives. But this knife is fairly hard to come by. It was a knife that they had for a very short period of time. They sold out almost immediately, and it's been very difficult to obtain one ever since. There's a couple different variations. This one is the Insingo micarta, and well, I'm sorry, the Insingo brown micarta. They come with this very nice sheath that I'll talk about. But these sold out very quickly. I saw the prices as low as like $250, which for a Reeve fixed blade is really good. So maybe they were priced too low, but they did not continue to make these. And I think a lot of people have wanted to get their hands on these. So, I mean, I've seen these go for, you know, $400, $375, somewhere in there on the used market. I did purchase this one used. As you can tell, it's got some wear and tear on the sheath and the knife. The sheath had some damage to it, and so it was a little bit discounted. But anyway, enough backstory on that. This is a very cool knife, and one that I'm excited to have in the collection and to be able to review. So let me do a brief overview of the knife and kind of basics, and then I will do size comparison, and then we'll get into things I like and dislike. First of all, the sheath. So this is a pouch style sheath, and you can see that the knife buries quite deeply. It carries fairly low, kind of hidden away. I love pouch style sheaths like this. I really like this. It's very different from like the Pacific sheath that I reviewed before. It's very compact. I like the look of it. I like the function of it. All in all, great sheath here. You can see they have the maker's mark right here, who CRK works through, also in Idaho. But just a nice high quality molded sheath, and I've worn it a few times. I think it wears nicely. I think it matches the aesthetics of the knife, and just a good sheath. And then here is the knife. So this is S35 VN, as you may expect from Reeve. This is the Insingo version that has just the nice swedge down here towards the tip of the blade. Nice little sharpening choil here. You have a maker's mark right here, the CRK logo, and then you have Idaho made here. Now you may recognize as I'm turning this over that it looks like the micarta here has some staining. So it did not come this way to me. The knife did have, like I said, the sheath had some issues, and I mean there were some small signs of wear that I'll talk about. But it didn't come like this. This is actually because I have been oiling down the knife. I'll talk about why in a few minutes. And I knew it was only a matter of time before I did this, but I oiled down the knife, and then I put the knife in a sheath for a couple days, and when I pulled it out, it looked like this. And that's just where the oil has gotten into the micarta, and so I'll just end up oiling the entire micarta. You can see the difference. Really nice look. Not oiled, I think it'll look just fine oiled, but you can see where it started to get in there. So I'll just end up doing everything just for kind of consistency's sake. No problem there. I mean, that's going to happen whether it's your hand oils or whether it's an actual oil. That's kind of the nature of it. So that is the knife. Let me do a couple size comparisons, and then we'll get into it. I have a problem. That problem is CRK. So I am becoming a big CRK fan. So there is the large 21 Insingo micarta and the small 31 drop point. So you can see for a fixed blade, it's a really great size. It's really close to the large 21. The blade's a little bit bigger, handle's about the same. It's a little bit more robust, as you might expect in terms of handle, a little bit more comfortable. But all in all, it's not a far cry from the 21, which is really cool. And I assume the large 31 as well. And so that's pretty neat. And of course, I love the Insingo blade on the 21. This one is slightly different, just in overall dimensions and scale, but essentially the same blade. You have that nice swedge up there that works really well, and it's a great tried and true blade shape. So let's get into the things that I like and dislike about the CRK Nyala. First of all, things that I like I said before, the blade shape, the Insingo, is just a fantastic blade. I will admit, when I first got into Chris Reeves, I did not understand the Insingo blade. I didn't like it. I thought it was ugly, thought it was a bit gimmicky, and my opinion has drastically changed since I've actually used one. So I got my Insingo on the large 21, and it's been my daily carry knife ever since I got it. Fantastic blade shape. I like kind of sheep's foot style blades anyway. This one, while it may not be the coolest looking initially, like it's not necessarily, I don't know. I mean, it's eye catching in some ways, but you know what I mean. It's not the sexiest blade at first. Man, it really delivers in terms of functionality. It's just a great all around utility. I mean, this is kind of a Skinner type knife, but just a great utility blade. If I'm using this as kind of a camping, fishing, kind of outdoor knife, this thing can cut, this thing can slice. It's just a great blade. You do have to be a little bit careful about breaking the tip off. I've definitely seen that on some Insingos in the past, and that's probably the weak point. But for the benefits you would get, I would definitely take that risk because you can sharpen it out. So blade shape I really, really like. S35 VN is fine, not my favorite. I'll talk about why in a few minutes, but I do like it. It's a little bit, I know everyone talks about it's softer and stuff. I have found that to be true. S30V to me outperforms it, at least for my experience. I find myself having to sharpen my Sabenzas a little bit too frequently for my taste, but can't complain. I mean, it's still a solid steel. Other things that I like about this knife, so Chris Reeve to me does the micarta thing really well. I thought the same on the Pacific that I reviewed from two standpoints. So one, just aesthetically in terms of the quality material, I like the look of this. I think that it's a nice micarta. But two, I think that they do some really cool things with the shaping and the grooving and the texture patterns on their knives. It gives it a lot of grip. They're maybe a fair too rigid, and maybe a touch too sharp. But I think that's a really cool design that kind of messes with the texture and gives you something to hold on to, and just looks really, really nice. It's very crisp. It's very detailed. The Pacific was the same way. Had some just nice detailing with the micarta. And if you're going to use something like micarta, that's definitely a cool touch to have. I like that the handles are removable. I have not popped these off yet, but I definitely will. But that's a nice touch just to be able to clean out the knife and to clean the micarta, honestly, because I think you can scrub micarta with a toothbrush, I think is what I've read before is kind of the best cleaning method. As it gets gunked up. But all in all, love the handles. I like the palm swelling here. I think it's a fairly comfortable knife, maybe a tad bit sharp, but all in all, very comfortable. I think it does what you would want a fixed blade to do. Other things that I like, jimping up here and back here is a nice detail, but one of my favorite things is that it kind of plays into the sharpening choil here. I didn't notice that at first, but as I kind of looked at it, the sharpening choil, which is a very nice feature on a fixed blade like this, it was kind of cool that it kind of played into the same design pattern that was up here and down here a little bit. And that's kind of cool from a continuity standpoint. Other little details that are nice, I like the debossed maker's mark down here, the CRK logo, as well as the Idaho made logo right there. Nice and simple. It's not etched on there. It's actually kind of debossed, and so I really, really like that. Other things that I like, I mentioned before, but the sheath is really fantastic. It's a nice quality leather, good and thick. It's got layered leather right here. It's good looking. I think it works very, very well, and it'll wear in very nicely. You can see it's already starting to pick up some nice patina. It had some damage to it, but nothing to worry about. Just a very usable sheath. Other things that I like, overall, just the size. It's a great size fixed blade. The Pacific was way too big for me. It was a bit too tactical for me. This is a great size fixed blade. It's big enough to where you can get a really comfortable handle on it, and it can accomplish a lot of tasks, but it's not too big. So it's something that I can practically see myself carrying. So I do really like that. That about does it for things that I like. Let's go into things that I don't like. Really two things that I don't like about this knife. Number one, just kind of an easy one, it's hard to get. This to me would be of Sebenza lore if they were to keep this knife as a regular stocked knife. This, in my opinion, would become the Sebenza of their fixed blade lineup. It's so accessible to so many different people. It's such a great size. There's lots of combinations you could do with this between Insingo blades, drop point blades, different micarta inlays, wooden inlays, or not inlays, but wooden handles. There's a lot of potential canvas here, and especially at that like $300 to $400 price point, I think this would be a really, really good option. I don't really know why they're not doing that. It doesn't seems to be less complicated, I would think, to produce than a Sebenza. But I would think that this would have a much wider reach than something like the Pacific or the Green Beret, but that's just my opinion. The other thing that I've been a bit surprised by, and this one I'll say with a disclaimer, I purchased this knife used, so I don't really know the backstory of, how it was kept before. However, it does have a little bit more sign of rust than I expected. So if you look back here, you can see some rust marks right there. And then if you look along this blade, and it's hard to do this in the camera, on one of these sides, you can start to pick up, oh, nope, that was just a little speck. Let me see if I can find them. It's probably going to be difficult for me to do on camera, but there are some marks up and down the blade that seem to indicate a little bit of rusting. And I've tried to keep this well oiled, but I've been a bit surprised to see that. Of course, I'm having trouble locating them now in the camera, in the viewfinder. I think you can see one maybe right there. But that's one thing that I was a little bit surprised by, because one of the benefits of S35VN over like S30 is supposed to be that it's a little bit more corrosion resistant. And particularly this mark on the back of the blade is something that I immediately picked up on. I was a bit surprised and disappointed to see that. That being said, I don't think it's a huge issue. My guess is that this has just been stored somewhere damp or, somewhere near water or something like that. Hopefully that's all it is. And a little bit of oil and TLC will take care of it. But that's about it. I mean, everything else about this knife I absolutely love. So cutter carry for me, this is a strong carry. I love this knife. This will be my fixed blade going forward until anything else unseats it. Particularly given how hard they are to come by. I'm not letting this one out of my sight. I really like this, and I intend to use this. I took it on a fly fishing trip, more just because I could than I really needed a fixed blade. But I expect that this becomes my camping knife. One thing that I've realized about the Sebenza is that it is popular not just for collectors, but because it is an actual wonderful tool. And so it's become my daily carry. I think this fixed blade will become my fixed blade of choice. So big fan of the Nyala. I just hope that they will actually keep them in stock. Hope you've enjoyed this review, and I'll see you next time.